Wallace Bradley, and I'm the host of the Bradley Report. This show is being presented to you by United in Peace, Inc. I'm also the president of United in Peace, Inc., and the director of this show is none other than the chairman of United in Peace, Inc., and that's Terry Marsh Bradley. I'm so blessed that she's my wife. But to make everything clear, a lot of things that you may be seeing on this show be my personal opinion when it's political, and not the opinion of United in Peace, Inc., nor of CAN TV. There's a lot of things that we're going to talk about. As you know, a lot of historical things has happened. Former President Trump, who was impeached twice, was the orchestrator of the January 6th insurrection, got indicted, got found guilty of 34 counts by a jury of his peers. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the importance of fighting for democracy. And if I got time, because they say politics is also local, we're going to talk about what the mayor of Chicago, Brandon Johnson, and the chairman of the budget committee, and also the alderman of the 28th Ward, Jason Irvin, and a great spiritual leader, Pastor Edie, over on the west side, is doing, for everyone to see what the mayor is doing, because he's listening to the community. So without further ado, I want to say to God be the glory. Amani, let's get on with the story.
Anyone else on the other side saddles up and gets on their high legal horses, I just want to remind the committee that the chairman is 754 days into his own subpoena defiance. Mr. Attorney General, last week it was reported that House Ethics Panel subpoenas DOJ for Gates records. It was a May 14, 2024 political piece. I'd like to submit it to the record with unanimous consent.
Without objection.
I just want to get this straight. Mr. Gates wants the Attorney General to reopen and publicize evidence from an investigation that a Donald Trump-appointed prosecutor closed against President Biden, while at the same time, Mr. Gates himself is being protected by the same DOJ policy that is refusing to voluntarily turn over evidence from Mr. Gates' sex trafficking investigation. Mr. Attorney General, can you just briefly, without going into the facts of that case, address why that is the DOJ policy as it relates to the current president and any other requests about closed investigations?
Yeah, without referencing any case, we try to protect the law enforcement files of the Justice Department so that in future investigations, people are willing to cooperate with us. We understand Congress's concerns, and we have an obligation to assess whether the information that we've provided is sufficient to accommodate the legitimate needs of the Congress. All of the reasons that Congress has given us for why they need the audio are satisfied with respect to the tapes. That is, all of the legitimate reasons given, the reasons that relate to legislative work of the committee, As to that, we've accommodated by providing the audio. We provided Mr. Herr's testimony in full, and we've provided Mr. Herr's testimony report. We've gone as far as we can go to accommodate. We're trying to protect our ability to do investigations in this case and in any other case.
Mr. Attorney General, let's set the facts straight here. And my job is to kind of lead an intervention for my colleagues. I think they need it. The Attorney General did not prosecute Donald Trump in New York. It was the result of Donald Trump's choices. Donald Trump chose to live in New York. He chose to commit his crimes in New York. He was afforded a right to be tried by his neighbors, jurors, in New York. He chose that jury in New York, working with his counsel, and they chose to make him a 34-time over convicted felon. But some of the choices the department has made in the recent years is that the president that was first appointed, that Donald Trump appointed the U.S. attorney who is investigating the current president's son. Donald Trump appointed John Durham, who investigated the wild claims made by this committee during the Russia investigation, and Donald Trump appointed Robert Hur, who was kept on by the Biden administration. Also, you have the right in our country to aid yourself in your own defense and talk to investigators. You also have a right not to. Mr. Attorney General, did Donald Trump sit down for an interview in the Mueller investigation?
I actually don't know, but I'm not going to comment on other investigations.
He didn't. Did he sit down for an interview with investigators prior to the January 6th indictment?
I'm not going to comment on
He didn't. He also didn't sit down for an interview with investigators in the classified materials indictment, but President Biden did sit down for a voluntary interview with Robert Hur. A jury can't hold it against Donald Trump that he did not testify in his own defense in New York, but he promised everyone else in the country that he would. You can hold it against Donald Trump that he did not testify when you consider whether you should so blindly follow every wild claim that he makes. My colleagues, none of this today that you are bringing makes sense. Your inconsistencies, your hypocrisy, your sycophancy, unless you are in a cult. And guys, I'm starting to think you're in a cult. That is your right, but it's not your responsibility. I promise you that's not what your constituents would want. So if you believe in states' rights, except when a jury in that state convicts your nominee for president, you might be in a cult. If you claim you back the blue but want to defund the police when the police go to your nominee's house to retrieve national security secrets, you might be in a cult. If you're supporting a guy whose felony convictions prevent him from getting a security clearance, you might be in a cult. And if the guy you're supporting for president has felony convictions that prevent him from going to Argentina, Australia, Brazil, Cambodia, Canada, Chile, China, Cuba, Dominican Republic, Egypt, Ethiopia, Hong Kong, India, Indonesia, Iran, Ireland, Israel, Japan, Kenya, Macau, Malaysia, Mexico, Morocco, Nepal, New Zealand, Peru, Philippines, Singapore, South Africa, South Korea, Taiwan, Tanzania, Tunisia, Turkey, Ukraine, United Arab Emirates, and the UK.
The gentleman from Kentucky is recognized for 5 minutes. I'm asking the gentleman.
I have unanimous consent request.
The gentleman has unanimous consent request.
I ask unanimous consent to submit for the record an amicus brief.
Prosecution of Donald Trump in the state court in New York. As far as weaponization of the department goes, did the Justice Department indict Senator Menendez?
It's a matter of public record, yes.
And he's a Democrat, isn't he?
I'm assuming the answer is yes.
And Henry Cuellar, Justice Department indicted him. He's a Democrat too, isn't he?
It's a matter of public record.
So you've prosecuted Democrats, and as we speak, Hunter Biden, who is the son of the president, is under trial in Delaware. And so you haven't weaponized the Justice Department in terms of hiding and protecting Democrats Menendez, Cuellar, and Hunter Biden.
The Justice Department follows the facts and the law. We prosecute like cases alike, and we make decisions about different cases in different ways. We do not allow the political party or the ethnicity or the religion or the race or the wealth or the influence of someone we're investigating to make a difference in our charging decisions.
I noticed Mr. Gates, who took you on first, is not here now. And that's unfortunate because he is living testament to the fact and direct evidence that you have not weaponized the Justice Department. He was investigated for sex, and while many expected a prosecution, you chose not to prosecute this very active Republican. Is that true? You did not prosecute him?
I'm sorry, I'm not sure what is in the public record and what's not, so I'm just not going to comment on that.
General, I hadn't asked you about the verdict yet. We were getting there. I was talking about the judge. And so let me ask you this question about your time as a judge. Was there ever a time when you were a judge when you had a family member who was personally profiting off of the notoriety of a case that was before your court?
Look, I'm going to say again, it's very clear you're asking me to comment on a case in another jurisdiction.
No, wait, hold on, Mr. Attorney General. Did you ever have a family member profit off of the notoriety of any case that you sat over?
Say again, you're asking
Yes or no?
You're asking me to comment on a case currently.
Well, it seems you're connecting the dots, Mr. Attorney General. I'm just asking you as to a general principle, but you are aware that Judge Merchan's daughter was profiting off of this prosecution. You are aware that that creates the appearance of impropriety. You know the very reason there's a federal rule against judges giving donations is because it is the very attack on the judicial process that we're concerned about.
I'm sorry, I don't agree with anything you just said, but I'm not going to comment on it.
Okay, so you won't comment on it, Mr. Attorney General, but you had no problem dispatching Matthew Colangelo. Who's Matthew Colangelo?
That is false. I did not dispatch Matthew Colangelo.
Matthew
That's
Colangelo,
false.
Matthew
False.
Colangelo became the Assistant Attorney General at the very beginning of the Biden administration. Without having been Senate confirmed, goes and gets this senior role at the DOJ, and then after, I believe it's Gupta replaces Colangelo, Colangelo makes this remarkable downstream career journey from the U.S. Department of Justice in Washington, D.C., and then pops up in Alvin Bragg's office to go get Trump. And you're saying that's just a career choice that was made that has nothing to do with the lawfare coordinated by the
I'm saying it's false. I did not dispatch Mr. Colangelo anywhere.
Well, do you know how he ended up there?
I assume he he applied for a job there and got the job.
But see, you know what?
I tell you, I had nothing to do with it.
Well, you might not have had anything to do with it, but we've got this contemporaneous evidence in Mr. Pomerantz's book. So Pomerantz...
I yield the remainder of my time to the chairman.
I thank the gentleman for yielding. Is the Department of Justice retaliating against whistleblowers?
No, that would be a violation of statute and a violation of
The
our...
Inspector General seems to think you are. I got this Management Advisory Memorandum dated May 2024, notification of concerns regarding the Department of Justice compliance with whistleblower protections for employees with a security clearance.
I've read the management memo. I think it's a good memo. It doesn't say we've been retaliated against anybody. It says that there have to be additional protections with respect...
Is it just pure coincidence that Marcus Allen's security clearance got reinstated today? Whistleblower came in front of this committee. Democrats disparaged this guy, called him a conspiracy theorist. 27 months without his security clearance, and we find out today it's been reinstated?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I don't know about the facts, anything about the facts of that case. Retaliation against whistleblowers is against the law, and it will be punished.
3 people who've come and talked to this committee as whistleblowers have had their security clearance taken. Marcus Allen gets his security clearance put back in place today. And the Inspector General says he's got concerns, doing an investigation as we speak about what's going on.
I'm sorry, the management memo that you're talking about does not conclude there was any retaliation against
No,
anybody.
he's putting on notice that he's investigating.
It doesn't say
Mr. Chairman, regular order.
The gentleman from California is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and Mr. Garland over here.
Oh.
Do you want additional time to answer the chairman's questions or comments?
No, I've answered. We do not, if there is, it is the policy and the practice, if somebody has a complaint about whistleblowing, to go to the Inspector General. That's why the Inspector General is investigating it. The memorandum that the Inspector General issued does not say he concluded that anybody retaliated against anybody.
So, folks, that was utterly humiliating for Jim Jordan, Matty Boy Gates, and all the rest, because Democrats sliced them and diced them for hours. And I just brought you the best parts there. Jimmy Boy leaving that room in a rage today, storming out in a rage today as it was all said and done, because it really demonstrated they have nothing. Remember, their whole thing pulling Garland in there is to rant about the weaponized...
You know, the wonderful thing about public TV is that individuals that have shows, as long as they fit within the perimeter and the rules, have a chance to inform their audience of what's happening. What you just witnessed is the Republican Party, as you've been seeing in the news, is discombobulated. They can't pass nothing, okay, without the help of the Democratic Party in order to keep this country flowing and working. All of those mega Republicans standing behind Trump, knowing that he committed a crime and in full support. So they tried to get a persona, because they now in power of the House. That's why you need to vote November the 5th, 2024. I'm saying this to my viewing audience throughout the country. Come out and vote a straight Democratic ticket. The Attorney General would have been a Supreme Court justice had the Republican Party within the Senate up under Mitch McConnell had allowed it to come to the floor. But because he was over the Senate, Mitch McConnell, the Republican Party chairman, then, he made a decision not to allow this man, which was Obama's nominee, to become a Supreme Court justice. He held that until Trump got in office. And then Trump had the right to appoint 3 Supreme Court justices. And he bragged about them now because he got rid of Roe versus Wade, taking away the women's rights to have control over their bodies because of those 3 Supreme Court justices. The mega biggest problem and their biggest fear is black men, such as myself and others, coming out to vote for Joe because of what Trump did to Roe. Sister, I might play the next one.
I think the Biden team needs to make a positive case for what they're doing. Investment in HBCUs. He just had a bunch of them to the White House, of their leaders recently. A lot of employment opportunities for Black Americans. They have a positive story to tell. I also think they do need to draw the contrast with Trump. The way he talked about Black Lives Matter, the Central Park Five, those are real things Donald Trump has said. There's a story out today about Trump's very racist language use again on another media outlet. I think the Biden team needs to make a positive case for what they're doing. Investment in HBCUs. He just had a bunch of them to the White House.
You know, people calling in, so I had to let them know that, hey, I'm doing my show because they want to know. They didn't know all this was happening. So we're not going to waste no time. We're going to move on to the next thing. Could you hit that next one, Sister Money?
Donald Trump was given every opportunity to defend himself. It was a state case, not a federal case, and it was heard by a jury of 12 citizens, 12 Americans, 12 people like you, like millions of Americans who served on juries. This jury is chosen the same way every jury in America is chosen. It was a process that Donald Trump's attorney was part of. The jury heard 5 weeks of evidence, 5 weeks. And after careful deliberation, the jury reached a unanimous verdict. They found Donald Trump guilty on all 34 felony counts. Now he'll be given the opportunity, as he should, to appeal that decision just like everyone else has that opportunity. That's how the American system of justice works. And it's reckless, it's dangerous, it's irresponsible for anyone to say this was rigged, just because they don't like the verdict. Our justice system has endured for nearly 250 years, and it literally is the cornerstone of America, our justice system. The justice system should be respected, and we should never allow anyone to tear it down. It's as simple as that. That's America. That's who we are. And that's who we'll always be, God willing.
You know, all we have is this system that gives you your fair shot in the court. Sometimes we may not like the verdict, sometimes we may applaud the verdict. But we can't let an individual that try to overthrow the government and its minions, the MAGA supporters, make a move and say that democracy is not good. And here's a guy that wants to become the president so he can become a dictator. But we're going to get to the next piece. Sister Money, hit that one.
We never see our community for what it is not, but only for what it can and should be. This is a glorious day.
Pastor Michael Eady, who runs the People's Community Development Association of Chicago, joining the mayor this morning to announce a new development in Garfield Park.
We have to make sure that our developers reflect the very communities that they're developing in.
Phase 2 of the Harvest Homes will bring 50 1 to 3 bedroom units, recreational space, and a food hall featuring Black-owned restaurants like Soul Food Lounge and Ooh-Wee It Is to Jackson and Homan.
This project really symbolizes the ongoing effort to making affordable, safe, quality housing available on the west side of Chicago.
The ribbon was cut on the first phase of the development back in 2017 with nearly 40 affordable housing units.
Here we are 6 years later, embarking on the next phase of Harvest Homes, building a community where people can access affordable housing, where children will soon be able to look out their windows and be proud of the neighborhood that they live in.
Construction for this round is set to begin next summer and finish in 2026, with a third phase of the project in the works.
I've always said this: if we got Garfield Park on track, the rest of the west side gets on track, which means the rest of the city gets on track. So it all starts right here.
Gaynor Hall, WGN News.
You know, that's wonderful what's happening on the west side. And I want to say I applaud the mayor. I applaud Reverend Eady. I applaud Alderman, Chairman of the Budget Committee, Irvin, and I applaud the community that's coming in support and paying attention and showcasing the things that the mayor, Brandon Johnson, is doing, okay? It ain't all about the migrants. It's about everyone. And the mayor, the city council, with the support of the budget director and the finance director and chairman and others, made it where the mayor was able to get a $1,250,000,000 bond deal to go through to help everyone within the city of Chicago, not just the 70 million that they voted for to help the migrants. So I want to say, to God be the glory. I appreciate those that made the wise decision to elect Brandon Johnson, the mayor of the city of Chicago. And I say, we that voted for him must be a plank within his bridges over troubled water. To God be the glory. That's my story. Vote, don't choke. You better listen.